So we can find the distance between any 2 points on the Cartesian coordinate system using the distance formula, right, which we know from class is d for distance is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Right, and to solve this, all we really have to do is fill in this information. Right, so we can look at our 2 points here, -1, 0, and 1, 2, and we can pick one of them to be the first point, one of them to be the second, so I'll call this one the second, I'll call this one the first. So our x2 is going to be 1, and our x1 is going to be -1. Likewise, our y2 is going to be 2, and our y1 is going to be 0. Right? x2, y2, x1, y1. Right, so now with that information, all I have to do to find the distance is plug in each of those pieces of information. So I have x2 is equal to 1, 1 minus x1 is equal to -1. y2 is equal to 2, y1 is equal to 0. Right, so from here, it's just a matter of doing out the algebra. 1 minus -1 is 2, that's 2 squared, plus 2 minus 0 is 2, that's also 2 squared. 2 squared is 4, plus 4 is going to be 8, so I'll have d is equal to the square root of 8. And then we can simplify this even further, right, since 8 is made up of 4 times 2, you can actually simplify this to square root of 4 times square root of 2, which square root of 4 we know is 2, so this will just be 2 square roots of 2. Right, and that's one way to solve for this problem. But say, for example, we got onto a test, and in the heat of the moment, we forget, oh my goodness, what is the distance formula? There's actually another way that we can solve this out, and this is sort of visual, but if we were to graph these points, and I'll just draw a quick little coordinate system here. If we were to graph these points, right, we have -1, 0, that's right here, and 1, 2, that's right here. Right, we know the distance between them is going to be the length of this line, and so we can create a triangle like this and use the Pythagorean theorem to help us solve for the distance. In this case, the distance will be our hypotenuse length, c. Right, so we can look at this picture now and we can say, okay, if I called this A and I called this B, all right, well, what is the length of A? Well, I can count visually and say 1, 2, or I can say, okay, it's going to be this number minus this number, which is, so A is equal to 1 minus -1, which equals 2. I can look here at B and I can say, okay, B is equal to 2 minus 0, or I can count 1, 2 and know that it's of length 2. So B is also of length 2. And then from there, if I just use my Pythagorean theorem, right, I have A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared, which I can solve for C is equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared, which is equal to the square root of 2 squared plus 2 squared, and now you can see this is going to look exactly like what we just did. So we'll have this is also equal to 2 square roots of 2 when we simplify it all the way out.